Observing local elections is one of the Congress's action priorities. The observer missions are conducted at the official request of the national authorities concerned. When a request is received, the Congress sets up a delegation normally comprising between 10 and 15 of its members. These elected representatives of territorial communities are accompanied by an independent expert.
To understand the importance of observing elections, we need to focus on the importance of elections as such. So elections work as transmitter belt to translate people's power into governmental power.
Normally then we would deploy in the country a few days before the election and take the opportunity to meet with a whole range of people. Obviously politicians and local political parties that are taking part in the election, but also the Election Commission and perhaps representatives of the government, representatives of the various law agencies in the country that have an involvement in electoral law. So that gives us a good background into the work of how that individual state will be operating the election.
You visit 15 polling stations in a day. You're there to see that everyone is the same, that there's a consistency about the way that the ballot is carried out, and that it's free and it's open and it's fair. So you're looking to make sure that there's nobody there, there's no coercion, there's no bullying, that people are able to vote freely for the candidates of their choice.
We look for the secrecy of vote. Is the ballot box actually closed? Are the boxes sealed? We also observe the opening procedure and the closing procedure of a polling station. We observe conditions for disabled, for women, for any other minorities issues.
We will stand back and we will observe people coming and going and voting. We have no rights or powers to interfere in the election on election day. But if we see irregularities, then we record those in our observations, and that forms part of our report.
Election observers, they are the independent voice and the impartial and objective voice of the international community.
One of the practices that unfortunately I've seen in the past, and I think to a certain extent in some states has continued, is where we have seen political parties hand people mobile phones so that they can take a photograph of their ballot paper, come out and prove that they have voted for a particular candidate, and then they might be given a small amount of money for doing that.
I've also been to polling stations where women seem not able to see on election day, so there were male persons accompanying them into the ballot box. We call it family voting.
There's a press conference the next day when the media are invited, so we have to present our initial very, very raw findings about what we've seen. And then, because we have an expert with us, we go away and we write a more considered report that's then brought back here to the Congress, and there's discussion with the delegations from the country that you've been to about how they feel about whether we've reflected correctly what they think happens in their country.
You also see now in the Congress here an encouragement to all the countries to invite us to observe the elections, because it's only based on the invitation that we can actually put together a team.
At the end of the day, our task is, yes, to look at the mechanics of an election, but it is ultimately to defend democracy.
The Congress of Local and Regional Authorities has carried out almost 115 election observation missions since 1990.